It has been revealed that police forces are subject to record misconduct complaints amid an officer abuse scandal. I'm going to read into this more from Byline Times, guys. Let's go. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is REGANELITE here with an article from Byline Times with the headline that it's been revealed that police forces are subject to record misconduct complaints amid officer abuse scandal. The time taken by investigators to look into serious allegations against police officers has tripled in recent years, Andrew Kursky reveals. Tripled, guys. I mean, now, we know that austerity has played a part in the reduction of police officers. We know that. We also know that police stations, local police stations in lots of places have gone over the last 13 years of Conservative rule. The local police stations, which means that some urban and rural areas either have little to no police force in their area. I'm not sure the numbers when it comes to community officers, but I'm going to go out on a limb and say perhaps outside of London, outside of main cities, and that's probably not as many community officers as there used to be as well, which is also pretty bad because they're quite vital importance for the connection between officers of the law and of the communities that they are supposed to look after. To have had tripled in recent years, and how much of this is actually being looked up, I think is another question we need to ask. Now, again, it's very important to stress this very important point as well before we dive into it, guys. This is not all police officers, okay? The media always paints, the media has this habit of painting this perception that all officers are like this, or that every police force is like this. And it's important to stress is that not every police officer is bad. Not every police officer is abusive or whatever. There are good police officers out there. It's really important to stress that. We just don't hear them. We don't talk about them enough. Yeah, and I think it's important to highlight that there are some police officers out there who do incredible work and don't get any credit for it, because all you hear in the headlines is police bad, police wrongdoing. Yes, there is a fundamental systematic problem with police forces, including the Metropolitan Police specifically. But I just want to really make that clear that there are good police officers out there in the United Kingdom, in all four nations, that do great jobs, but we just don't highlight them. So really want to put that out there before we dive into this, guys. So, police forces of England and Wales have logged a record number of complaint allegations last year, reaching the new heights of 134,952, the equivalent to one complaint for every 2 serving officers. Some of the reports covering serious breaches, including officers abusing their position of power for sex, and amounts to 24% rise from the figure recorded the 2 years previously. Byline Times analysis also suggests that the amount of time taken to investigate serious allegations of misconduct has tripled in recent years. Now, 134,000 is an insane amount of complaints. The question is what are they doing to respond to these complaints, and how are they handling each complaint? Is the question you need to be asking. Now, obviously, the sexual misconduct and that is just any kind of abuse or whatever needs to be put into question. But when we talk about sexual, we're talking a whole different level here of kind of abuse. And there have been some absolutely disgusting, horrible scandals that have taken place by police officers over the last decade, and without a shadow of a doubt, questions do need to be asked. But 134,000 is an insanely high number, to say the least, guys. The Independent Office for Police Conduct, the IOPC, which handles independent investigations of serious police misconduct, which saw its average time to finalise an investigation rise from 130 working days in 2020-2021 to an expected 312 working days for 2023-2024. Those figures include spending time investigating by police forces themselves before a case is referred to the IOPC, meaning delays could be due to failures at local police forces rather than the IOPC itself. Given the limited number of working days in a year that the IOPC this year will take almost a year and a quarter in real time to complete. Campaigners said the findings demonstrate that police complaints system was not fit for purpose and needs a substantial overhaul. I think, yeah, when you have that many complaints, if you're not already thinking of overhauling it, it couldn't speak for itself. I think the last time we had a really deep talk about the police force, I talked about, I think I spoke about the idea of, rather than reforming the police force, dismantling it, but building a completely new force in the process. So the idea is that you would start a new police force, and what you would completely from scratch, fresh one. And what you would do is you would make sure that you would have people on board from local communities and not just brand new officers you build from scratch. You have to bring one or two in from the old force. Yeah, that's inevitable because you need to be able to pass them. But you need to make sure that there are systems, robust systems in place to ensure that allegations, things like this are taken into account, that the training that police officers are put through within a brand new police force is vigorous, and that they are psychologically checked as well up here to see what their mind is as well. I think that's also from a mental health point of view as well. I think that's really, really important. Or basically a complete revamp. And what you do as you build up a new police force, you wind down the old one until the point where you basically get rid of it, is the way I would do it, rather than completely rehashing the same police force, which has excuse me, which unfortunately has proven to be failure time after time after time again. So that is one suggestion. What do you honestly think of that suggestion? Because I have brought it up before. I don't think anyone's directly commented on it, but I'm curious to know what you guys actually think of that. So the 134,000 allegations in 2022-2023 amount to 547 per 1,000 serving officers and related to 81,142 complaints. Each complaint can contain multiple allegations. In 2020-2021, the figure was just 109,151, rising from the year later to 120,000. So they're consistently going up and up and up and up, and the question is what's being done about it. Nearly 35,000 of the allegations lodged nationwide last year were against serving in the Metropolitan Police. Yeah, the Metropolitan Police are the ones who've been under scrutiny the most, to be fair. The force has been the focus of growing criticism of UK policing after a string of criminal officers in its ranks were exposed, including serial rapist David Carrick and Wayne Couzens, who used his police ID and handcuffs during the kidnapping and murder of 33-year-old Sarah Everard in 2021. It's absolutely disgusting, horrible story that was. A damning report from Lady Louise Casey in March found the force to be institutionally racist, misogynistic, homophobic and corrupt, and her report warned that the public consent is broken with the force. It was one of the most damning things that was, really was quite damning. One of the most criticised units in the report was MO19, the force's elite specialist firearms command, which the report described as having a deeply troubled toxic culture. Every female staffer the review spoke to that had left the team since 2019 reported having been directly impacted by the sexist and misogynistic culture in the unit. Officers in the unit also spent excessive amounts of money on unnecessary high-end equipment, including night vision goggles that are unusual in London's street-lit environment. Last month, scores of officers at the unit refused to conduct patrols after a colleague was charged last week with the murder of shooting dead unarmed Chris Caber in South London in September 2022. The IOPC celebrates that more complaints are being dealt with more quickly, but this simply means that the misconduct is routinely being dealt with informally and officers are not being subject to scrutiny and for thorough investigation, said Rebecca Doodley, legal and advocacy officer at policing reform group Stopwatch. Where there are investigations, they are subject to extraordinary delays and very rarely result in action against officers. The police complaints system is the only way for the public to hold officers to account, but it's clear it's not fit for purpose and needs substantial overhaul for public confidence to be restored, they said. He went on to highlight that just 113 complaints ever led to misconduct proceedings against officers last year. Yeah, that's the problem there. 113, guys. Only 113. It's outrageous. Out of what? 134,000 was it? and warn that countless more complaints are never reported as victims, as they do not trust the complaint system will result in accountability for bad policing. So essentially there's even more complaints that we know of, and essentially they can't even be bothered, and they're basically forced to accept what happened and move on. Where's the democracy in that? Where's the protection of those who have been in that? Holly Bird, Research and Policy Officer at the charity, added that the long waits to finish the IOPC investigation was unacceptable, explaining that the mental and emotional impact of those who have made complaints cannot be overstated. A Home Office spokesperson told Byline Times that the public put their trust in the police and expect them to carry out their duties due to the highest professional standards. The government changed the definition of police complaints in 2020 to ensure that dissatisfaction and misconduct can be raised. It remains essential that they are handled reasonably and proportionally across policing. The vast majority of complaints about the police are about the delivery of duties and service and do not concern misconduct. How on earth do you know that? Have you read every single one of those complaints? Has the Home Office gone through and read through every single complaint? I'm going to say no. The change in methodology in 2020 affected all of the data analysis, meaning the rise between 2020 and 2021 and 2022-2023 was not due to the years using different methodologies. However, police forces have all characterised the figures of new methodology as experimental. The IOPC told Byline Times our annual police complaints statistic published this week showed that there was an 8% rise in complaints recorded by forces in England and Wales. We've made clear that these figures, including allegations, remain experimental following a significant change in the complaint system in 2020. Comparisons with previous years therefore need to be treated with caution. The new complaint system has simplified the process to make a complaint and making it accessible, and widening the definition of a complaint to any expression of dissatisfaction. I think it's dissatisfaction, but I can't really say that word for some reason. Apologies if I'm... obviously I haven't drank enough today. It was consequently anticipated by there would be an increase in allegations made. The most commonly recorded complaint type relates to police services delivering, such as the lack of updates or delays in response, rather than the more serious concerns around police misconduct. The length of time to finalise allegations figures in quarterly bulletins relate to the company cases but do not accurately reflect the IOPC's involvement. These figures reflect the timescales from when a complaint was actually received by a force to when the complainant is advised of the outcome. For example, it can be weeks or months before a force reserves a matter to the IOPC. We can only investigate the most serious and sensitive cases referred to us. Why? Which by their nature can be more complex. We currently complete just under 90% of our core independent investigations with overall within 12 months. Nearly includes complaints, conducts, deaths or serious injury matters. We complete nearly 40% within 6 months. Since becoming the IOPC in 2018, we have improved the timeliness of our independent investigations. Oh, okay, so everything we just discussed doesn't matter, right? Because that's what we want us to say. Yeah, okay, sure. Obviously, they have to defend themselves from this, and the Home Office has to defend themselves in saying that they are taking this. They are basically saying that it's not as bad as it looks, but it does look very, very bad there when you look into that number. 136,000 is absolutely insane, and the fact that the numbers are rising is a more in damnation for the police officers who actually do good, because it makes them look bad. When there seems to be, the perception is that there's a majority of police officers who are not fulfilling their roles and taking abuse of their powers. But as I said in the video, guys, I believe that dismantling the police force and a new one should be done rather than police reforms, because it's when you reform something numerous times and things are not changing, rather than trying to fix it back up again, rip it apart and build something completely brand new, I think is sometimes the best course of action, guys. Well, what do you guys make of these complaints? Are you surprised by such a high number? What do you guys think should be done? What should be done differently? Should my idea, perhaps a new police force should be better? Perhaps maybe it should be reformed instead? Or what could Labour do if Labour get into power at the next general election? What forms or ideas do you think they can put into action? Let me know down in the comment section below. Like, share and subscribe as always. Thank you very much for watching. If you've watched this far, much appreciated. And I hope to catch you all very, very soon.